And I'm your host today, Jen Peeples. With me today is Jeff D.
Hi, Jen. Hi, everybody.
First time co-hosting a show together. And clearly, I did not intend to host today because I'm wearing a blue shirt. So if I look a little ethereal or insubstantial, it's because the blue screen is washing me out a little bit. Unfortunately, Matt was not feeling well today, so he asked me to stand in for him. So here we are. So how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. So did you vote?
I did. Voted early.
I voted early too.
Long line.
Yeah. I actually voted the other day. There was no line. So, yeah, I had someone ask me on Facebook, why vote early? Why the big emphasis? I said, well, you get to go to any polling location in your county, not just your precinct, like you do on election day. And there was absolutely no line when I walked in. So it was pretty cool.
There was a big line when I went, but I went on the last day of early voting. And you know, another point to early voting is more voting gets done that way, and
That's
you know,
right.
It means more people are participating in the process, and that is only a good thing.
Yep. So yeah, we are in the midst of election season. For those of you who are not in the U.S., those of you who are in the U.S., you know this very well because you're getting the phone calls probably about every 2 hours, like I am. So anyway, one thing I wanted to talk about before we go to callers today. Yeah. I mentioned on Facebook the other day that I had voted and I got my flu shot that same day. And I had someone on my Facebook friends list pop up and say, oh no, not the flu shot. Now you're definitely going to get sick. And don't you know those things are poisonous and off into the big pharma conspiracy thing. So it's that time of year again, folks. Get your flu shot. They don't hurt you. They prevent the flu. And nothing bad's going to happen to you if you get them. There's no mercury in them unless you get the multi-dose bottles of them. You know, if you do that. They don't use that for pediatric flu shots, so you're not going to get mercury from a pediatric flu shot. And they're, it's way better than getting the flu, okay? The only side effect I've had was some very mild soreness at the injection site, and that was it. You cannot get the flu from the flu shot. So whatever somebody tells you about this stuff, please, don't buy the pseudoscience. Go get your flu shot. It's really important. So, and also, if you're one of these people that you think that there's this big pharma conspiracy around vaccinations and you're into like alternative cancer therapies instead of, things that work, you have no business being on my Facebook feed. So just hit the unfriend button on your way out. Thank you.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah. I don't have any of those people on.
Oh, you get rid of them.
I get libertarians sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got some callers lined up here. Who do you want to talk to first here?
I don't know. What order do they come in?
I don't know. Let's see. You want to talk to Sebastian?
Sure.
First? Let's talk to Sebastian, okay? Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Sebastian.
Hey, I can hear myself on the stream.
Okay, yeah, you probably want to turn that off and just focus on the telephone call, because there's.
I'm wearing headphones.
Okay.
I'll ignore it.
Okay.
This day is because I sort of have created a religion in my brother. I mean, I destroyed it again after a few days, but I thought it was quite interesting what happened. So what it was, we've had this spider living in our bathroom for a few days, and I told my brother, I wasn't planning any of this, I just sort of made it up, that it was something called a shamlam spider. And I was part of a secret team of people who were dealing with these spiders because they were the source of all hate and suffering in the world. And they created a telepathic field that would hurt people if they, it would put violent thoughts in their minds and stuff. Now, there was one good Shamlan spider who could also use these telepathic fields, but he could stop them from being so horrible. If every day he closed his eyes and wished really hard and reached out to the Shyamalan spider, the good one, then it would reduce the effect of all of the Shyamalan spiders. And if everyone in the world started doing this, then eventually all hate and suffering would be gone. And I mean, I added some other stuff in, like they could tell when too much information was being passed through, and then they would like increase their effect. So he couldn't really ask too many questions. I mean, he's like really small, so he's gullible. But
Okay.
I just thought it was interesting how that worked.
Yeah. So how old is your brother that you told this to?
He's 8.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I told him 2 days later that it wasn't true, but I thought it was quite interesting how he bought it and actually did this every day.
Okay. And I guess what were you trying to accomplish with this?
Well, I just wanted to see how this sort of thing, like mind, and if it could actually take hold. And I mean, I saw how easily it actually took hold in his mind. But I mean, I wasn't really planning any of this. I just sort of started making up some random story, and it turned into that.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically how kids get indoctrinated. They get told something by an authority figure when they're very young, and they believe it. And if that gets reinforced over the years, then you've got some pretty strong beliefs there. Hopefully, you've actually inoculated him as a result of this exercise.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. So, I mean, if so, then I guess it was a worthwhile experiment.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to ask another thing as well.
Okay.
I was talking to a Muslim a few days ago, and he eventually just told me that really he recently. And I said that I know what Jeff would say about this, but I said that there were basically an infinite amount of possibilities of different gods that you could think of. And if you're going to use Pascal's wager, you have to give all of them equal credibility. So if you have an infinite amount of possibilities, then the chance that you're going to be correct with just one is so infinitesimally small that it's not really worth devoting your whole life to.
Yeah.
Right, that's the position you're in. If you're going entirely by faith and you don't have any evidence to work on, it's evidence that lets you weed out the possibilities that don't fit, so you can whittle the set of possible answers down to a manageable number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking to him, but I remember a while ago, Jeff, I think it was you, who said that what if there's a God who wanted to test people and weed out those who are gullible, and he would put them in torture, and the ones who see that there's no evidence, they in fact will be saved. And yeah, I think it's probably said that. That's a very good point.
Yeah, I didn't make that up, but I've heard that elsewhere myself. But that's a good point.
Yeah.
There's, but that's if all you got to go on is faith, then anything could actually be true, right? Then you've admitted you're just guessing.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll get off the line then.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thanks for the
Thanks
call.
for calling.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So next up, let's see. What do we have here? Let's go with Sammy in Albany. Oh, the numbers aren't up here.
Hello?
Hi, Sammy. You're
How's
on.
it
Hi.
going? Just want to say I love your show. I love the concept of positive atheism in contrast to what atheism has traditionally been associated with, like Stalin and all that. So you guys are doing a good job.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a question. I'll try to keep it as simple as possible.
Okay.
What is the atheist position on a reality in which there are absolutely no physical phenomena, like no matter, no space, no time, no quantum fluctuation? is that logically possible, or is that just something we can conceive of?
What do you mean? What do you mean by the atheist position? There is only one atheist position, and that's we don't believe in a God. That's it. I mean, anything beyond that, each atheist you ask is able to have a different view on that.
Exactly. So what would your position be? Do you think that's possible, or is it just because it's possible doesn't mean it has to have existed?
I'm not sure I even care.
Yeah, I didn't quite follow the laundry list of characteristics you wanted to give to this hypothetical situation. All kinds of things are possible without actually being true, right? Depending on what you mean by possible.
Mm-hmm.
So
I guess your position is that it's kind of irrelevant because we have no evidence for it for God.
In general, yeah, I think that our time is best spent studying and looking at things we actually do have information about.
Right, okay. So, because I was reading about, like, Lawrence Krauss's view of, the creation of the Big Bang.
Uh-huh.
And from my opinion, it seems like, a good atheist position would be that as far as we know, there's always been some type of physical phenomena, even if we don't define it as nothing. There's always been some physical phenomena that could give rise to a universe. That's all I was...
Why do you think that's an atheist position?
Well, because to me, the theist position is that at some point there has to be complete nothing, whatever you define complete nothing as, and then God created.
Okay, but Jeff just got through telling you what the atheist position is. There's one. We don't believe a God exists, and you agreed with that. And
right.
So now you're asserting that there's this other atheist position about the origin of the universe. So I'm perplexed about why you think it needs to be.
If I could venture a guess, I think what you're getting at is there are different views we could have about the state of affairs leading to the existence of the universe. Some of which are maybe seem more obviously convenient convenient fits for the conclusion that there isn't a God, and some seem less convenient for that. But I in general, I try not to look at things that way. If physics discovered a God tomorrow, I'd be okay, fine, right? And I'd stop being an atheist. It's not like I'm going to give a greater preference to unproved speculations that happen to fit my lack of belief.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I mean, whatever is the case, and I think that is what we should be trying to find out. At the moment, right. I don't believe in any gods, because it doesn't appear to be any serious reason to think that there are some.
Right.
And that's it.
Okay. Yeah, so that clarifies my question, that we just have to go off what we know, even if we could conceive of a nothing which is convenient to theism or atheism.
Sure.
Right.
Well, we can conceive of all kinds of things. Being able to conceive of something is not evidence that it's true either.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your call, Sammy.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, let's see who else we have up here. We want to go ahead and get this one out of the way?
Sure.
All right. Okay, is it Pekka from Finland?
Hello.
Hello, you're on.
Oh, yes. Would you guys agree that you're a fat piece of shit, man?
You done?
Yeah, he hung up. Did I drop him? right.
The
So,
long, drawn-out death rattle of a complete idiot.
yeah,
Okay.
a 16-year-old gamer who hangs out in his mom's basement, and
Oh, is that who that is?
yeah.
Nothing wrong with being a gamer.
No, nothing wrong with being a gamer, but when you're 16 and you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You really need to get some hobbies.
Shall we try another call?
Sure. Let's go with Mike in Baltimore. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the idea of echo chambers or belief or non-belief. Myself, when I was becoming an atheist, I was around 13, and instrumental in that process was content on the internet, including your show. So it was kind of, with the Dawkins videos, kind of simple stuff that put me on that track. But then I noticed about 3 years later, I was still watching the same types of videos. I kind of got caught in a rut where I was using these, I guess the best word or best phrase I can think of is mental masturbation. I was kind of just reinforcing the things I already thought. So this is not a critique of your show by any means, but I guess it's kind of cautionary note to people who may be watching that it's important not to, okay, I don't believe in God anymore, that's a logical position, but I guess don't celebrate that or just revel in your victory, because you can get stuck in a period where you don't learn new things.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I have a personal policy of I try to read something that I know I'll disagree with at least once a day, and what that does for me is it exposes me to different ideas, and sometimes I change my mind as a result of that information. But the other thing is if I really, at the end of reading whatever it is I've selected to read that day, if I still disagree with it, then my challenge is to defend my position. And so I find that if I do that, it helps me better understand and clarify my position on things. And like I said, it also prevents me from living in an echo chamber where I'm never exposed to something that I disagree with. So.
Yeah, and church essentially serves the same function for theists, which is equally as dangerous. Mm-hmm. But like watching Matt Dillahunty own Stupid Fundy on YouTube is no better.
Well, if that's all you do,
right.
I would agree. What I would challenge people to do is, if you enjoy watching Matt, debate with theists and crazy callers and stuff, what I challenge you to do is go and understand the basis of Matt's argument. Go and understand where the theist got that argument. Somebody comes in and presents the Kalam cosmological argument. Go and research that and find out about it. Discover why it's a bad argument. And don't just stop at watching somebody do something entertaining. That's really no better than parking yourself in front of a TV for hours every evening and really just not doing much in the way of thinking. So, I became an atheist because of, it was really a byproduct of skepticism. And so what I don't want to do is lose the skepticism. Just because I've arrived at what I think is the correct answer for now, it's always provisional. If I get new information, I could change my mind. I think that's extremely unlikely at this point, but I'm still open to new information. And I think that's the essence of being skeptical. So, any thoughts?
I completely agree with all of that.
I was actually commenting to Jeff here.
Jeff?
Yeah.
I also, in defense of watching things like that for entertainment value, I think there is a lot of entertainment value to be had in things like that. And certainly, your ultimate point that you shouldn't, turn into just a couch potato, giggling at devastating atheist arguments for the thrill of watching theists get destroyed. That there's not a whole lot of value in that, but We're still in a world where we're largely dominated by religious people, and I think there's a certain amount of value in having that entertainment outlet where you can where you can encounter your point of view and see it being vindicated strongly and forcefully. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And I'd add that the more you understand the atheist position, the more you're going to find that everything you listen to is something that you have encountered before, and that's just natural because you started to learn all the arguments that there are. But I still watch that stuff because every once in a while a gem comes along of a new point of view, a new angle, a new question that you hadn't thought of before yourself or encountered anywhere else, and that's worth it. You really have to watch a lot of that stuff that you've heard before in order to get to those things. So I wouldn't get too worried about. I wouldn't go overboard in avoiding it either. That's just life. That's the way things are going to go. Once you get used to a certain topic, you're going to, and when you hear more about it, it's going to tend to be the stuff you've heard before.
Yeah,
not necessarily a bad thing. Okay.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Just one last kind of humorous implication I noticed. If it gets to the point where it is mental masturbation, you, Matt, and all the other hosts, Richard Dawkins, are essentially atheist porn stars, and I find that hilarious.
All righty.
Thanks for the call.
Yep.
See?
Thank you for letting me know.
That's one of those things I've never encountered before.
Yeah. Okay, let's moving on here. We've got Kenny from Georgia.
Hello?
Hi,
Kenny.
You're on the air.
Hi, thank you very much for taking my call.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for calling.
All right. Basically, over the last 5 or so years, I've kind of been on this journey of self-discovery, sort of, rediscovering what I've been taught my whole life and trying to figure out justification for that. And I pretty much discovered that I am an atheist. But I grew up, very fundamentalist Christian. My mother is a pastor, and she has no idea. I was kind of wondering, maybe, based on your own personal experiences, how would I go about essentially coming out of the closet as an atheist?
Wow.
Well,
You want to go first?
go ahead and
You don't even have to, is my first answer. It's there. I'll be the first one to say that that the atheist viewpoint needs to be stood up for and defended in our culture. But the reason it needs to be stood up for and defended in our culture is that it's so difficult for some folks to be open about their atheist views, and that's still a fact. And because that's a fact, I don't judge people that decide, well, they're not in a position to come out or come out yet. I don't judge them badly. It's entirely up to you whether you think the fallout from letting people in your family and circle of friends know about that, whether that fallout is acceptable to you. You've got to make that decision for yourself, and I wouldn't want you to assume that there's some pressure on you to decide that you must go public. Now, I did. In my case, I decided that I had to do that, and then I got outed before I got around to actually doing it, which was awkward. But I certainly understand from my position, I didn't like lying to the people that were close to me. I didn't like pretending. That I thought that was very awkward, and I thought the most honest thing would be to be upfront about it. And yet, my parents were ministers, and So it turned out okay in my case. It's not going to turn out great in everybody's case. You got to make that call for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You had a follow-up question?
Oh, no. Go ahead, please.
No, I was going to say, like Jeff said, there's no requirement that you actually come out of the closet as an atheist. You can stay in the closet if you want to, and I never recommend that people do something that's going to put their life in jeopardy or their livelihood in jeopardy. I have a number of friends who remain in the closet as atheists because they're afraid that their livelihoods will be threatened if they come out. And so, it's something to think about. You're the only one who can assess your own personal situation and make that determination. And I wish I could tell you some magic formula for coming out of the closet as an atheist and making it okay with your family, who are all theists, and you said your mom is a pastor.
Yes.
That I wish I had some magic formula, but there just isn't one. It's something that you're probably not going to know for sure until you've done it. How it's going to turn out, and unfortunately, at that point, you can't just kind of step back in the closet once you're out.
Yeah.
But
I think that whether it turns out okay or not has almost nothing to do with how you come out, and almost everything to do with what the views are that are held by the people that who are going to find out about this, right? I mean, if you know what they think about atheists, you can pretty much expect that that's the way they're going to think if you come out. And the only possible way out of that is if you have such a close relationship that they're willing to revisit their views just because you happen to be the atheist that they're reacting to, right? And make exceptions for you. But that's the thing. It's really hard to judge, hard to know in advance. But we, folks like Tracy and I, the folks on this show, we will be here continuing to try to make the world a safe place for atheists to be public about their views. And when you feel that that's the way the world is, then that would be the time to come out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for the call.
And good luck.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? All right, why don't we go ahead and take Daniel in St. Paul. Okay. Hi, Daniel. You're on the air.
Hi, I'm just had a question about what's the general idea behind atheism other than the lack of a belief in God? Is there anything more to it?
That's pretty much it.
Nope.
So God, it's confusing because I'm watching your live stream at the same time. I'm sorry, I'm going to pause that quick.
Yeah, you want to turn the volume down and just focus on the call because there's a short delay.
Yeah, I understand.
You'll find a lot of common threads, common viewpoints held by atheists besides the lack of God, because there are justifications for that lack of belief that some of them are stronger than others, but none of those are a requirement. I mean, an atheist is a person who doesn't believe for whatever reason. I mean, there's people who don't believe for reasons that I think are ridiculous.
Yeah, I can understand that they believe there's an invisible pink pony that dictates their entire life, but it's not necessarily that. It's just, it's crazy. The other thing I was wondering is, what sort of led you to believe that there is nothing other than there's no I stutter because I'm nervous.
It's all right.
That's okay.
What led you to believe that you don't believe that there is no God, or you don't have adopted an agnostic position where it'd be like, I believe there might be a God. I accept that the God is a possible answer, but there's a chance that it's
Okay, well, let me stop right there and let's revisit the definitions real quick, okay? Agnosticism or Gnosticism is not about belief. That's about knowledge. So that's making a knowledge claim, okay? Theism or atheism is about belief. And it's possible to be an agnostic atheist.
Okay.
Okay? So
my problem is I might be just confusing the definitions.
okay. Now,
I mean, I don't disagree with your beliefs. I believe that everybody should be accepted for their beliefs. And if there is something wrong with your beliefs, the only thing I believe that are wrong is that, not your beliefs in general, I'm trying to generalize all beliefs, that if the belief says you should go murder children or something,
yeah.
I
And
believe that would be wrong.
yeah, and there's nothing in atheism that would get you from lack of belief in God to murdering children.
Yeah, I understand. It's just, I don't see how Christians that call in on the show believe that you're an atheist, they automatically decide that it means you have no morals and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what they're taught. I mean, that's...
We are the other brand, you know. It's like asking Coke fans what they think about Pepsi.
Yeah.
There is an assumption there that is substandard and bad and wrong and should be avoided. And there has been centuries of Christianity occasionally encountering disagreement in the form of atheism, and people in the Christian religion responding by lashing out and saying, well, that's bad and wrong and should be avoided. And that's what we're up against, the fallout from that, from centuries of trash talk from Christians.
The other thing I wanted to ask is, could you describe atheism from what its Latin roots are? Because I've had many people try to say that atheism can't be possible, but personally, I believe that's ridiculous due to the fact that how Latin describes it. I believe that A is the lack of, or I'm not sure if I'm getting that right, and theism is the belief in God. So
right.
If you combine those two, it makes atheism creating the lack of belief in God.
Right. It's unfortunate that we're stuck using something as awkward as language to try to explain all of this. But you mentioned earlier that, maybe you've got the definitions wrong. That would not be your fault. I mean, the definitions Tracy just gave you, the distinction between, Gnosticism and agnosticism being stances on the question of knowledge, and theism and atheism being stances on the question of belief. I mean, that's not a universal definition that you're going to find everywhere you look. There have been people pontificating about what they think those terms mean from many different directions for a long time. So now that atheism is lately kind of becoming a bigger thing, there's a bit of an effort to try to standardize the terms, but you won't even find all atheists agreeing on how we just described those things.
Yeah.
But we're stuck. I think the description is more important than the term. And the description we use of atheism is we're folks that don't believe in any gods.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wanted to say this at the beginning because I was nervous and forgot to ask it.
It's all right.
After I asked my initial question. This is a thought thing that I've always wanted to try. I've heard the Christians use the argument that on a piece of paper, draw a circle. Put a dot in that circle. That dot is the amount of knowledge you know. And that circle is the amount of knowledge in the universe.
Yeah.
And then they ask, how do you know there's not a God in that circle? But the idea behind that is, how do you know there's not a God in that circle?
Well, the time to believe something is when the evidence demonstrates that it's true or likely true, and not a moment before.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. That you can reverse that argument and use it in the atheist side as well.
Right. How do you know there is one? And of course, the burden of proof is on the people who postulate, who make the positive claim. It's the people who claim to know that there is a God are the ones who ought to, cough up the evidence that there's a God. So the rest of us who don't have that evidence can take a darn good look at it, and if it is sound, reach the same conclusion they did. That it's not correct for the believers to say, well, we believe in a God, and now you have to prove we're wrong. That's not our job. Right? So we don't try to do that other than we sometimes give the appearance of attempting to prove there isn't a God because we're presented with arguments for there being one over and over and over again, and we respond to those arguments in the negative, because if we ever hear the argument that we don't respond to in the negative, then bang, we're theists, right?
Yeah, and I was just trying to look at this from an objective standpoint and try not to take either side.
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to ask a few questions about atheism and Christianity together and what your opinions on those were.
Sure.
Thank you for that, for answering them kindly, not being like some people I know who will respond to this and then go like, you're insane, Christian's right, or you're insane, Christian's wrong.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't actually convince anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally when someone calls you insane, you just get angry and want to walk away.
Yeah. Now, I do think some religious beliefs are insane, but I don't use that argument to convince those adherents that they're wrong.
My problem is when people use those arguments to push their beliefs on others, not when it's like, I don't mind that you believe religion is insane. I'd mind if you have to try to say religion is insane, therefore you shouldn't follow it, and try to force that on somebody else. That would be my only problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm going in circles. It's me. I'm not sure when I should stop. I talk a lot.
It's okay.
Well, why don't
if you feel like it's necessary to cut me off at any time, just tell me.
Have you got another question right on the tip of your tongue?
Not right on the tip of my tongue, no.
Okay. If you think
call back in future shows.
Awesome.
You're welcome to do that. Also, if you think of a question between now and the next show that you want to call in, you can always email us, tv@atheist-community.org.
Can we get that
nice to
email
get someone who
address?
doesn't question your beliefs for once?
What's that?
Isn't it nice to get someone who doesn't question your beliefs for once?
Oh, I don't mind. I can defend my beliefs.
It's nice to get questions that are about the viewpoint rather than when are you going to stop killing and eating babies?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen previous shows where someone calls in and just goes rambling, not without even pointing any questions, just ramble on.
Yeah.
I mean, do they just let those guys through because they think it'll be funny?
No, actually, they usually pose some kind of reasonable sounding question to the screener, and then they get on the show and do something crazy.
Ah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, feel free to call back or email or whatever. Okay?
Yep. Bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. And for those of you wondering out there, if you're going to be in Austin and you want to be part of the studio audience, yes, that is possible. We, in fact, have a studio audience here right now. And once we leave the studio after the show, some of us will be going over to Threadgill's over on West Riverside Drive for dinner. So if you're in the Austin area and you would like to have dinner with us, you're welcome to do that as well. So with that, why don't we go ahead. Kyle has been waiting patiently on the line here, so let me get Kyle from Anaheim.
Hello?
Hi, you're on the air.
Thanks for taking my call. I really love your show, and just want to thank you for doing it because it's informative and it helps a lot of people out.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to put out the question of how you guys feel about religion in the public school system, especially like how they teach the credibility of the Bible.
That's actually prohibited in public schools.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, like in some public schools, like when I was taught, they taught that like Jesus was in fact a real person, and that that you just had to take your own belief about him.
Then, can I ask when was this?
This was a few years ago, back in high school.
Okay, because there have been a number of court cases since then. And basically every time creationists or every time someone has tried to insert religion into a public school system, they've lost. Okay, there is no court case in which they have won the right to put religion in a public school. So I'm just curious about what was going on in your school that you were taught this. I mean,
well, it was sort of like basically they taught that Jesus was a real person, but you have to come up with your own beliefs about him, and you don't have to be Christian. You believe whatever you want.
Okay.
But that he did exist.
What class? What class was this?
That'd be like in history.
Okay.
And I was just wondering how maybe like Christians could maybe like tiptoe around that. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing about that is that I guess they have an out, and the out is that you can teach something that you believe to be true for all the right reasons and still be wrong. So it could be that your history teacher believed that Jesus was a real person and that there was historical evidence of that, and it was solid and, not kind of an open question. And if you talk to some historians, they still believe that. So it's not like it's a settled question that Jesus definitely was not historical or anything. So like I said, it's possible that your history teacher believed that, brought that up, was very sincere and, just didn't have the evidence behind it. So.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. When it comes to the credibility of the Bible, how close it is to actual fact.
Yeah.
When it comes to Jesus, what outside of the Bible, what proof is there that he actually existed?
There are no contemporary extra-biblical accounts of Jesus' life outside the Bible. I guess it's extra-biblical, yeah.
Right. There's no books from the same time as the Bible that also say that there was Jesus.
Yeah.
There's books after the Bible that chime in and say there was Jesus. But those books had the Bible as their source, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's it, I guess. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
All right. That should generate a flood of email.
Huh.
What? You said that Jesus didn't exist? Actually, we didn't say that.
I don't know whether he did or not.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to Rod in California. Hi, Rod, you're on the air.
Oh, hello, thank you. I wanted to make just a couple comments. One, when you were discussing that you try to read something every day that you disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to take a similar type of approach, but I got to tell you, people like Lee Strobel drive me up the wall. But what I find is when it comes from the standpoint of reading something and using critical thinking skills, I find that the things that I disagree with, I don't even have to hardly think about while reading it in order to see the fallacies and point out the falsehoods or the things that are worded in such a way as to be questionable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But when I'm reading something I already have a bias towards or agree with, that's the time when I feel like I really need to put my critical thinking skills to their best use.
Yeah.
Because that's the time it's easiest to just kind of float right over and miss the same fallacies, ad hominem attacks, and various things, that just stand out when you're reading something you disagree with.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up because that is very important, and I completely agree. I was reading a book, I guess a couple of years ago. You may have heard of it. It's called Sex at Dawn.
Fine topic.
It's very, very interesting. And now I can't remember the name of the author off the top of my head. But anyway, very good book. And I was reading it and I thought, I love the concept of this book. I love, the information he's presented. And I thought to myself, now's the time to be the most skeptical because I like this concept a lot.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I completely agree with you. It's very important. The thing that I find with reading things I disagree with is that it allows me to slip into that role of, the opposite viewpoint more easily than if I didn't read things I disagree with. So the exposure to arguments against something I like helps me understand that a lot better, and it helps me actually be more critical of things I do agree with.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
No, I think what you're getting at, if I understand it correctly, is this constant application of skepticism to every claim is what's important.
Yeah, including those that you're most passionate and in agreement on. Another thing, if you got a minute that I'd love to bring up, is this last night before I went to bed, I posted a little video on Facebook. It was Cher and Kathy Griffin, and they were discussing Obama and women's rights.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my very extreme fundamentalist friends, when I got up this morning, had posted this extremely long, rambling letter, basically, saying that abortion is murder and you should never murder a child. These people should be in prison. And she went on, in the course of it, explaining that many years ago she had had an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, she feels so bad about it. She had no right to murder that child, and it was wrong to murder that child. And she just kept using the phrase over, And I did, several of my friends, my atheist friends also, wrote back articles about abortion, sent her links and discussed how, abortion is not murder because there's no living human organism to murder at that point, But what struck me most about her whole thing, despite numerous flaws and fallacies and all, is that this poor woman refers to her own abortion as when she murdered a child.
Yeah.
And I did post in my comments to her that I felt that, the real crime here is whoever has indoctrinated you and taught you to feel guilty and horrible for murdering someone you didn't actually murder. But I was still trying to be compassionate about how abortion is, it's a very tough choice to have to make.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, I believe that people have the right to make their own choices. And you also get to live with those choices, whatever they are. So, her experience of, regret at having had an abortion is certainly not a common one. I don't know what effect, anti-choice people may have had on her feelings after the fact. But regardless of that, she's responsible for the decision that she made. And so if she regrets that decision, that's, I'm sorry, but that's, that comes with being able to make a choice.
Yeah. I just was responding to from the standpoint of, I feel it was, it was not super religious at the time of the abortion, and now she's very, very posting every day, I love Jesus, it's so horrible, he had to die on the cross and all that pain he suffered for us, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's a shame to see her have become this person who honestly believes she's a murderer and that she has to make atone for her crime of murdering this child. And I kind of feel like her religious conversion has created this abusive, feeling towards her actions.
It's possible.
Yeah. Okay, well, I thank you for your time.
All right. Thanks.
All right. I'll call back when I have something more controversial to say.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
All right. And I guess we have about 11 minutes left on the show here. So let's see. Why don't we go ahead and go to Shane in Wisconsin, line 3. Hi, Shane. You're on the air.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Wow, I've been meaning to call in for a long time.
And here you are.
Yeah, amazing. Jeff, big fan of your old Dungeons and Dragons work.
Thank you.
Artwork. But so anyway, to the point. I was raised in the good old Church of Christ, which I believe, Jen, was your background as well, if I remember from pet shows.
Who, me? Which one of us? Tracy? I'm sorry.
Jen.
Yes,
no,
Jen.
I was never in the Church of Christ.
Oh, maybe it was Tracy.
It was Tracy.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
that's why.
We look so much alike.
Confused. Well, yeah. It's Martin and Russell who look a lot alike. But,
okay, hey, we've got like 10 minutes left, so let's go ahead.
Yeah, get to some sort of point.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing is, about a couple months ago, my father put me in touch with a friend of his who is a PhD biologist and also a Christian. So he wanted me to talk to this guy because my dad is still, fears for my mortal soul, that he won't see me after I die, all that. So I agreed to have a debate with this guy via email because, out of respect for my father, and I figured since he was a biologist, he would perhaps, have a somewhat more liberal take on things. But shortly into it, I found he was a young earther.
Wow.
And starts throwing out statements like evolution has no explanatory power for biology, and goes into the no beneficial mutations have ever occurred. The protein code doesn't think that evolution has to have anything to do with bacteria evolving, developing responses. That's complete nonsense. So I finally ended up with the conversation. He had accused me of being closed-minded because I didn't agree with his arguments. So I sent him back an email saying, well, I'm done. I'm going to remove you from my contact. I don't appreciate this, and fuck right off. So I guess the point being, the debate comes up on the show a lot between, how Matt loses his temper with callers and such. And, it seems to me there's just eventually a point where how much can a human being take? And there's there's eventually a point for rudeness, I suppose. But, my parents are upset with me because I used naughty language and want me to apologize to that, which I refuse.
Of course.
Okay.
It's very common when maybe this happens to theists too, but I don't hear their sides of these stories, right? But when in an extended conversation with some believer that just drives us freaking up the wall, and we finally, say what we really think about the quality of the discussion that we've had.
Exactly.
It's awfully common for the believer then to turn around and say, make the honest expression of disgust the issue, and avoid the entire question of, well, had they had anything productive to say in the first place, or had they just wasted your time?
Yeah. I responded critically to every one of his points, to which he just continued to elaborate on his points without ever addressing any of the, actual criticism.
And so you're saying that this guy actually has a PhD in biology from an accredited university?
Yeah, he's apparently a manager at a genetics company in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay, will you give him a message for me?
Sure.
Tell him give it back.
Oh, I know. If only.
Yeah.
He writes articles for the Warren Apologetic Center, also out of Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I may have mentioned that previously. They have a website. But, it just pained my head to such an extent that, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I mean, what do you say with that level of intellectual dishonesty? I mean,
exactly.
If he has a PhD, there's no way he can not know that what he's saying is BS.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I would.
He had to pass differential equations at some point. I think you got to do that to get a biology degree. I could be wrong, but I think you do. And one of the things that you do in differential equations is you do the equations for the decay of radiation.
Mm-hmm.
Once you do that, now you have it mathematically. This is how radioactive decay works, and that's how radiometric dating works. Because one of the things that you get to do is a radiometric dating problem. It's on, I think, probably every DiffEQ final on the planet. You got to do that. So I don't see how he can avoid that.
I was astounded when I found out the fact that he was a young earther. Down to the, Grand Canyon was obviously caused by Noah's flood.
Obviously, yeah.
And, you get, as an atheist or as someone that actually tries to talk with these people, you get so much vitriol from their direction with, you're going to hell, and et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you use an F word back at them, and suddenly you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, Jeff, it's you that has the particular lack of of tolerance for the "you're going to hell" thing, right?
Yeah, I don't much care for being threatened.
As I recall, that was you. Yeah, I continue to run into the "you're closed-minded" thing, and that was what ended up causing me to send him the nasty email with the naughty language. As you're gonna call me closed-minded. Yeah, I've actually read books that weren't written by people that already had their conclusions formulated. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, we've got about 3.5 minutes left, and I want to get one more call in before we go. So, thank you for the call.
Thank you so much for all you do. It's very therapeutic. I wish I lived in Austin.
All right. Well, good luck with your creationist guy.
Take care, Shane.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go to Lamont in Colorado Springs. Hi, Lamont. You're on the air. Yeah, we got about 3 minutes, so be brief.
Okay, I'm going to get right to it. I was wondering, I think there are 4 things that every worldview needs sort of be coherent. I'm sorry, I hear an echo in the background.
Yeah, if you've got the audio on the show turned up, you might want to turn that all the way down and just focus on the call because it's a short delay.
Oh, yeah, I don't have it playing in the background or anything, but really quickly, on my question.
Okay.
Atheists tend to have, as it seems to me, they tend to have an idea of morality and purpose, where we should be good to each other, we should help each other out, we shouldn't kill each other, all of those things. And I actually have atheist friends that are really moral people, they're good people. I'm not an atheist.
Okay.
My question is, how do you make your idea of morality and purpose coherent or correspondent with your ideas of origin and destiny? Being that most atheists believe that we are here essentially by accident, or that the universe has no intention of putting us here. Not only that, but we're going to spend a comparatively short time on the planet and then go out of existence.
Okay, it's entirely utilitarian, man. Life is more fun when we get along.
Life is more fun?
That is about as far as we can go in the remaining